The debate was supposed to be just another political discussion, until Karoline Leavitt exposed Ilhan Omar like never before. As the cameras rolled, Omar struggled to defend her policies, while Karoline delivered brutal facts that left the entire audience stunned. But the real shock came after the debate, when the internet exploded with a response no one saw coming. The nation was watching. Two political powerhouses, Karoline Leavitt and Ilhan Omar, were seated across from each other, ready for a high-stakes debate that promised fireworks. The host, a well-respected journalist, adjusted his tie as he introduced the topic. Tonight, we'll be discussing immigration, crime, and national security. Congresswoman Omar, let's begin with you. You've been a strong advocate for immigration reform. Your critics argue that your policies encourage illegal immigration and increase crime. How do you respond? Omar leaned forward, her expression composed but firm. This country was built on immigration. The idea that allowing people to seek refuge here leads to crime is not just incorrect. It's dangerous rhetoric. Immigrants contribute to society. What truly increases crime is poverty, lack of access to resources, and systemic injustice. Karoline smirked slightly, waiting for her turn. Ilhan, let's be clear. No one is against legal immigration, but the policies you support, sanctuary cities, reduced border enforcement, and resistance to deporting criminals, have made American communities less safe. You talk about justice, but where's the justice for victims of crime committed by people who shouldn't even be here? A murmur rippled through the audience. Omar's smile faltered slightly before she quickly regained composure. Crime statistics show that immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than native-born citizens. Blaming an entire group for societal problems is not only unfair, but it also distracts from the real issues, like economic disparity. Karoline's eyes sharpened. You love citing statistics, but let's talk about the actual numbers. In sanctuary cities where illegal immigration is protected, crime has surged. Violent offenders who should have been deported have been released back onto the streets. You call it compassion, but it's recklessness. The host jumped in, sensing the tension rising. Congresswoman Omar, do you believe there should be any limitations on immigration? Omar hesitated briefly before responding. I believe in a fair and humane process that doesn't discriminate based on nationality or economic status. Karoline seized the moment. Translation: no real limitations. You believe anyone should be able to walk in, no questions asked. That's not immigration policy. It's an invitation for disaster. The audience reacted with gasps and a few cheers. Omar narrowed her eyes. Karoline, you're using fear-mongering tactics instead of real solutions. What's your plan? Detaining children? Separating families? Karoline leaned in slightly, her voice steady. My plan is to enforce the law, secure the border, deport criminals, and protect American families first. If that sounds extreme to you, maybe your priorities are in the wrong place. Omar's jaw tightened. And what about those seeking asylum, those fleeing violence and persecution? Do they not deserve safety? Karoline didn't hesitate. America welcomes asylum seekers, but that system has been abused. We need strict vetting. Right now, cartels exploit weak policies to smuggle people, drugs, and weapons across the border. And you, Ilhan, have done nothing to stop it. The room was silent for a moment. The host cleared his throat. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion. The cameras zoomed out as the show cut to commercial, capturing the contrast between the two women, one composed and firm, the other struggling to regain her footing. The battle had just begun. As the cameras turned back on, the tension in the room had only intensified. The short commercial break had done nothing to cool the heat of the debate. If anything, it had allowed the audience to digest what had just unfolded. The host glanced at his notes before looking up. Congresswoman Omar, before the break, Karoline raised concerns about crime in sanctuary cities and border security. Do you want to respond? Omar adjusted her mic, her voice calm but slightly defensive. Yes. First, I want to make it clear that blaming crime on immigrants is not only misleading, but also irresponsible. Crime is a complex issue that stems from many factors: poverty, lack of education, and systemic barriers. To pin it solely on immigration is a tactic used to instill fear. Karoline chuckled, shaking her head. No one is blaming all immigrants, Ilhan, but your policies like eliminating bail requirements and reducing penalties for repeat offenders, enable criminals to walk free. That's a fact. Omar's expression remained composed, but a flicker of unease crossed her face. We need a system that treats people humanely. Mass incarceration and over-policing don't solve crime. They only create more division. Karoline leaned forward. Ilhan, let me ask you this. Do you believe in deporting violent criminals who are here illegally? Omar hesitated. The pause was long enough to be noticeable. The host interjected, Congresswoman, Omar finally answered, choosing her words carefully. I believe in due process. Every case is different, and blanket policies don't work. Karoline seized the moment. Translation, you won't say yes because you don't believe in deporting criminals, and that's exactly the problem. Americans are tired of politicians who won't take a stand for their safety. A murmur spread through the audience. Even the host looked intrigued. Omar inhaled sharply. We need reform, not fear-mongering. Karoline didn't miss a beat. Fear-mongering. Tell that to the families who lost loved ones because of criminals released under your policies. Tell that to the parents whose children died from fentanyl smuggled across an open border. Omar's lips pressed into a thin line. The tension was undeniable. The host cleared his throat. We're going to take another short break. When we return, we'll discuss possible policy solutions. The screen faded to black, but the debate was far from over. By the time the debate ended, social media had exploded. Ilhan Exposed and Karoline Dominates were trending within minutes. Clips of Omar stumbling over her responses went viral. Even neutral media outlets just acknowledged that she had struggled to defend her policies. Within hours, Omar's office released a statement claiming the debate had been an attack filled with right-wing misinformation. But the damage was already done. Karoline, on the other hand, embraced the moment. She posted one tweet that broke the internet. Facts don't care about Ilhan Omar's feelings. It got over 1 million retweets.